This guy's resolution was to end his whole family because of the choices he made, by the way. Welcome back to Mode Theory, my media analysis platform. Again, like I normally do, I'm just going to go straight into the video because this is my channel. Today, we're talking about a show that truly has not disappointed me. The White Lotus. I truly never knew your game. Like, people would tell me to watch it, and I just never cared enough. I started season one about 2 weeks ago, and I've wrapped it up at least 3, 4 days ago. What an amazing show. Like, The White Lotus, I never knew your game. Mike White, the director, never knew your game until now. Like, it's such an amazing series. And I'm an idiot for not watching it because if I'd actually paid attention, it's exactly one of the type of shows I love to watch. I love shows that center themselves around basic human interactions and challenges, yeah? For a show to grip me, you're more likely to grip me because of some sort of just very ordinary human scandal type rather than have like wizards and goblins chasing each other or police chases and whatever. Don't get me wrong, those genres are great, but I have a real appreciation for basic human behavior in shows. And I think you'll find that a lot of the time, basic human behavior is enough to grip you. And I just think the way Mike White does it in The White Lotus is phenomenal. I love it. He will make a scene as simple as someone, I don't know, drinking water, just hella suspenseful for like no reason. Well, obviously we know the reason why we're watching it, but just hella suspense, bro. He has a way of making you feel on edge, and that something is just always about to happen. White Lotus, I never knew your game. It will probably make it on my list of favorite shows. If you've watched The White Lotus before, you will know that, you can watch seasons separately. They're not directly continuous, but elements of each season get carried along, I guess. But you could actually, in theory, watch The White Lotus like separately, season one, two, and three. Um, you would also know that in every season, and this is another thing that is just done so well, in my opinion, multiple storylines are just weaved together, right? Some of y'all might hate me for this, but I'm actually going, I know this is a fairly new channel, but I'm actually going to focus on season three. I will probably return to the White Lotus, but I just really have so many opinions. And I guess it's also because it's the last season I obviously watched and it's the freshest in my mind right now. And so in season three, obviously you have the many storylines. You have the girl group, the storyline between Victoria and Tim's kids. Also have Tanya's ex-husband and his whole thing. I'm forgetting one. Oh well. Oh, what's his name? Rick, the angry man that wanted revenge and ended up killing his father. Today, I really want to focus on Tim. Yeah, in my opinion, Tim's storyline was the most interesting, and Tim's storyline is the one that tore me the most. Not emotionally, but I literally have torn opinions. Obviously, spoilers ahead, but just to recap, Tim is a finance executive, some massive role in finance. Clearly, he's clearly the breadwinner in his family. He is the financial foundation for his family. He has built this very beautiful life for him and his kids. One could argue that he's kind of raised or created an environment of entitlement, but we'll get into that later. And so, obviously, him and his family have come to the White Lotus. He's on this great family vacation, this exclusive private island club, and he gets notified that the FBI are essentially about to freeze his assets because he was involved in some sort of fraudulent scheme of some sort. And you just see the mental demise of this man, which I think was done amazingly. You just see the amount of pressure he's under. You just see him realize that if this gets out and when he has to face it back in the US, that he's finished. Ultimately, he's finished. He starts by, agreeing to hide the phones. If you've watched it, you'll know on the island, you have an option to give in your phone to get a heightened experience and really disconnect from your phone. And obviously, he goes from not even caring about that kind of service to frantically getting his whole family to put the phones in the bag so that no one, because they're also trying to contact his family. Even more so, his son that works for him. His son has built his whole identity in this finance firm. It's just so peak. And so, this is where I'm kind of torn into. On one hand, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that thinks this way, on one hand, you're just thinking to yourself, I'm so sorry. You want to end your whole family's life because of the choices you made. And it's very obvious that he's not rich because of the fraudulent activity. It's very clear that he's been wealthy for a long time and that it's more his greed that got the best of him. And so you just think to yourself, like, ugh, like you money hungry capitalist pig, respectfully. Like you've obviously you've gotten greedy and now you're in this mess and you want to not take it out on your family, but your best course of action is to end your family's lives. Dude, no one told you to make that deal. And we all get greedy. I've gone greedy, but your solution to be that is just so sad to me. There's also this sense of like, I'm not condoning bad actions, but there's a difference between, in my opinion, between someone doing bad things because they truly have no other choice and they're truly suffering. But like I mentioned before, it's alluded that they've been wealthy for a long time. It's not this one big thing. So you're kind of just looking at him like, you dug this hole, you dug it, and now you're trying to get out of it in the worst way. He's also not the most likable character, in my opinion, in the beginning. Especially the way he talks to the staff very briefly and the way him and Victoria, his wife, the way they let Saxon get away with his very crude, rude, misogynistic, slapstick, ridiculous behavior. And then you kind of look at him like, as the head of this family, you've just kind of created a bunch of idiots. The family to me just wasn't likable, but that's obviously what made me watch, right? So that's one side of my thinking, right? That was my, I wouldn't say initial reaction, but yeah, that was one side of my thinking. But we always have to go deeper with this, right? You kind of, in a weird way, start rationalizing with him. Because as much as I say his whole plan was to get rid of his family, if you remember, his initial thought was to just kind of get rid of himself. And then he obviously had, visions of how that would be for his family. So he is still thinking about his family, but it's like he's doomed if he does, doomed if he doesn't. Another reason why I actually at times felt sorry for Timothy, is because of, well, his family. You have Saxon, who admits that his whole identity is tied up into this business that is now being investigated by the FBI. His assets are being frozen, and that's your whole son's identity. And he's made that clear to you, by the way. You then have Victoria, your wife, who has been very clear in stating that she couldn't even fathom living a life outside of the one you have curated for her. And then you have Pippa, and Pippa, I wanted to like Pippa, but she kind of just disappointed me. Pippa wanted to stay in she wanted to stay in Thailand and live amongst the monks and find her purpose, right? Pippa spent one night in that damn place and said, I'm used to exquisite food and my comfortable bed and my lifestyle. So the only one really that isn't so brainwashed by this life that Tim has curated for them is Lachlan. And then you go even deeper and you just think to yourself, it's so sad that his whole identity is just being the financial backbone for his family. It's themes of masculinity tied in with stability. Are you only worthy as a man if you can provide a certain type of lifestyle for your family? And if you can't do that, do you now deserve to die? I like to do that thing where sometimes I really try and envision if this was actually happening to me, God forbid. And like I said, greed gets to the best of everybody. And when the stakes are so high, at some point, can you blame him for resorting in that? And to be honest, in his defense, he didn't go through with it. If you remember, he crushed up those poisonous fruits on the island, made them, ordered them pina coladas and put them in. And he couldn't even watch his family drink the pina coladas. He couldn't do it. And eventually, I guess he just faced the music, which I was happy about, man. Because, boy, imagine offing your whole family again because of a choice you made. Tim was a very, very interesting character. His whole storyline, like I said, really did grip me. This is not going to be my last video on the White Lotus. There are many characters that I really do want to talk about in the near future. Um, Comment what you think about Timothy, or but really anything about season 3 that maybe you would like me to talk about. Also, don't forget to check out my blog that is linked in the description. And thanks for watching, guys.